Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Supervisors meeting for April. Please rise and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to move to the Whitemarsh Community Ambulance Association recognition for awards for members of the community. And I'm going to call up Chief Kristen Kovacs.
Hello.
Hi there.
I would like to call up Officer Caleb McMain and Joe Brown for recognition. Oh yeah, get it. No, in front. On behalf of Whitemarsh Community Ambulance Association line officers and the Board of Directors, it is my honor to recognize these two individuals for their outstanding actions on March 17, 2026. First, we proudly commend Joe Brown, a dedicated public works employee, for exemplary awareness, professionalism, and swift response during a critical situation at Cedar Grove Park. While performing his duties, Mr. Brown observed a woman in distress and quickly recognized that she was exhibiting symptoms consistent with a stroke. Without hesitation, Mr. Brown immediately contacted 911 and remained by the patient's side until EMS arrived. His ability to recognize the severity of the situation and act decisively ensured that the patient received prompt and appropriate care. We are pleased to share that the patient was transported to Temple University Hospital, where she is expected to make a complete and full recovery. Mr. Brown's actions reflect great credit upon himself, the Public Works Department, and the entire community. His quick thinking and commitment to the public safety exemplify the very best in public service. Joe Brown is hereby publicly commended for his life-saving actions and his dedication to helping a township resident in need. We also like to take this opportunity to recognize Officer Caleb McMain for his outstanding service during the same incident. Officer McMain demonstrated exceptional professionalism, compassion, and situational awareness while assisting EMS at the scene. Recognizing the need to ensure the safety and well-being of the patient's dog, Officer McMain acted without hesitation. He took responsible and compassionate control over the animal and preventing further distress and eliminating any potential risk at the scene. He then safely transported the dog back to the patient's residence and ensured that it was properly secured. By doing so, Officer McMain allowed EMS to focus entirely on patient care without distraction or concern. His thoughtful and proactive actions demonstrate not only a strong commitment to public safety, but also a deep sense of compassion and responsibility. Officer Caleb McMain is hereby publicly commended for his professionalism, compassion, and dedicated service. His actions reflect greatly credit upon himself and the community that he so proudly serves. Please join myself and my Assistant Chief, Maria Pierce, and the Board of Directors for Whitemarsh Ambulance in recognizing Joe Brown and Officer Caleb McMain for their exceptional service and commitment to the safety and well-being of Whitemarsh Township. Thank you.
Great job.
And we would also, if you don't mind, if we could ask some of the guys and girls and Mrs. Brown, right, Joanne, if you guys could come up for a picture too? I think that they would like it. That's okay? I know that there was some, yeah, Jack and some of the other women and men. Just wanted to make sure. I just wanted to see if you guys would like a picture with everybody. Lindsay, can you grab a picture? Yeah.
Should Lindsay be in the picture?
Oh, yeah, Lindsay, I'm so sorry. Come on. Lindsay was one of our EMTs who was on the
Good job.
Thank you.
Congrats, boys.
This is one of my favorites.
Thank you.
All right.
Because for a second, I was like,
Scared her.
I'm going to hand it over to Tom Blomstrom and his guest for a Township Day presentation. I look forward to this every single year.
oh my gosh.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here this evening.
Thank you.
Members of the board. We have with us special guest, George the Horse. Ironically, in this America 250 year was named after George Washington. So
love your
George
outfit,
is with
George.
us,
Thank you.
and we're happy to have George today.
Nice shades.
Few notes about Whitemarsh Township Day. We are on Saturday, April 25th at the Colonial School District, PW High School Victory Field from 12 to 5. The online registration process began for the township in early January, and it's going to go until the 24th of April, or until all spaces are taken. The categories for folks to register for vendors are business, where we currently have 35, community school groups. We currently have 9 crafters. We currently have 15 food vendors. We're full with 13. Nonprofit, currently 2, political, religious, other, currently 4. Total 78, and that's as of last Thursday, so we're probably north of that, I'm sure. And we have approximately 10 spots available at this point, so if anybody's interested, make sure you call right away. Folks get tent, table, chairs, and we're anticipating being sold out, probably have a waiting list. We look forward to a happy, safe experience that day. We'll have hand washing stations, hand sanitizer, porta potties, spaced out vendor layout. We want to thank the supervisors in Colonial School District as our host, and our following event partners, sponsors, and in-kind donors. Our champion sponsor, the Athena Foundation, Gilmore & Associates, Kona Ice, Xfinity, Union League, Liberty Hill, Kilkenny Law, thank you very much, Treasure Sign, Alliance, HP Management, Spring Mill of Conshohocken, Magic Memories, Patient First, Raise Appliances, Skyhawks, Pickle Place, General Recreation, RBC Wealth Management, Yoga 6, Rhodes Energy, Brookland Behavioral Hospital, A&E Clothing, Holiday Inn Express and Suites, Fort Washington, Danmore Tree Service, Sky High Services, Jolly Green Giant Landscaping, Squeaky Clean Services, Inc., Highland Mansion and Gardens, Heyday Athletic, Open Mind Psychological, Nationwide Lori Henry State Farm, Heidelberg Materials, the Whitemarsh Police Officers Benevolent Association, Hearth Builders, Jameson Home Services, Pico, Raider Tree Service, Pierre's Costumes and Mascots, Paul Davis Restoration, Police and Fire Federal Credit Union, Systems Net, TD Bank, Militia Hill Security, First Trust Bank, Caddick Utilities, Do More, the Chamber of Commerce for Greater Montgomery County, Slowick Orthodontist, PFM Asset Management, DeStafo Premier Martial Arts, Hollitt's Home Garden and Rental, Amici Vicinato, Panera, Daily Grind Fitness, Ye Old Ale House, Galen Murray Communications, Wawa Foundation, ABA Centers of PA, JP Mascara & Sons, Kappa Builders, Mid-Atlantic Sports Construction, Thackeray Crane, Moyer, Spring Mill Veterinary Hospital, Spring Mill Fire Company, Barron Hill Fire Company, Whitemarsh Community Ambulance Association, Anthony Reynolds, Circus Time Amusements, Sheeran Environmental Design, Hill at Whitemarsh, Sal Pion Builders, Erdenheim Farm, Rockwell Urban Forestry, Carroll Engineering, Kaplan Stewart, Edmonds Government Tech, Asher Behavioral Health, Courts at Springville Station, Chemical Exterminating Company, Red Tail Restoration, Whitemarsh Foundation, Tri-State Financial Group, Streetside Barbecue, ShopRite of Roxborough, Brown Superstores, PW Spartans Football and Cheerleading, Zero Eyes, Independence Blue Cross, Whole Foods, Green Valley Country Club, Mount Airy Animal Hospital, and Endura Vet Clinic, and the Daisy Tavern, and our host, Colonial School District. It's as fast as I could say them.
Is that all? Is that the best you could do? Come on.
It was a grind. But we're able to do this because of your support and obviously the generous support of our many sponsors and in-kind donors. Chamber of Commerce is great to work with again. They sent out blasts to the entire Chamber of Commerce on our behalf, which is wonderful. We met with officials from the school district following last year's event, reviewed things, put together a plan for this year. We're planning on meeting with them, school district reps, the police, fire marshal, public works, emergency services, on site at the CSD facilities building on April 14th. Then again, we'll meet Friday afternoon, the 24th, before the event to do an on-site walkthrough, make sure everything's fine with final staging areas. Our food vendors, people like this, the Hearty Funnel Cakes, Federal Donuts, Cone Ice, Cousins Maine Lobster, From the Boot, Chick-fil-A, Fuzzy's Munchies, Tadio's Ice Cream, the Tot Rod, BHFC Fire Company, Barron Hills doing hot dogs, Amici Vicinado, and Bacon on a Stick. And big thanks to the Fire Marshal's Office for all the efforts with the food permits and food licenses. It's quite a task. Whitemarsh TV did a great job. Rob Brown, it's not Whitemarsh TV, it's Whitemarsh Community Access, and I owe you a quarter in the jar. So thank you for their efforts. Entertainment, we're going to have Ari Felber, 2 magicians, 2 DJs. Dreams Come True is going to bring some characters, Lilo and Stitch, and Mona. DeStolfo's Karate Performance. We'll have John Hatfield Stiltwalker. We will have 3 balloonists, 2 face painters, Skylark Circus Acts, Project Positive, Aqua String Band, and because it's the 250th anniversary this year, we are going to have Betsy Ross, George Washington, and Uncle Sam. We have bounce rides that include the Ferris Wheel Bounce, Mickey Park, Euro Bungee, Extreme Rock Wall, Amazing Maze, Big Baller, Mechanical Bull, Car Speedway, Vertical Rush, Ultimate Survivor Obstacle, Orbitron, Polaris Cars, and Jurassic Adventure. Games include Shooting Stars, Speed Pitch, 3-in-1 Carnival Game, and Inflatable Axe Throwing. Fun Fields will be back for their home run, and mini football and Bubble Land. We're going to have some horses in addition to George. He's bringing 4 of his friends, so they'll be out there. We're going to have Erdenheim Farm Petting Zoo. The EAB and Shade Tree will be out there joining us with environmental and nature information. Montgomery County Mobile Voter Van, thank you. We'll be out that day to help folks with voter registration, mail-in ballots, learning about the election process, etc. Tents have been booked. We're good. Orders for tables, chairs, etc. Volunteers from PW High School, Honor Society, Boys Lacrosse, and then other students, Arcadia University swim team, and then some township families with teenagers. Publicity's been ongoing on all of our township media outlets. Pre-sale wristbands currently underway. You can get them now for $20 at the Park and Recreation Office. Day of will be $25. We're taking credit cards that day and Venmo at the event. We'll have a shuttle bus that's going from lot 4-5 to Victory Complex Overflow. Parking will be at Whitemarsh Elementary and Miles Park from 12 to 5. And we'll advertise that and let people know if they need help getting down to the field and all that. So we do our best to accommodate everyone as best as possible. Just a huge thanks to the Township Manager, Public Works, Police, Fire Marshal, Whitemarsh Community Access, Finance, Angela, thanks, and the Township Emergency Services, Barron Hill Fire, Springville Fire, and Whitemarsh Community Ambulance. It's just a total team effort. It's not a Parks and Recreation. We stand here, we get to wear fun outfits, and we get to be happy we're making kids smile, but everyone's doing that in the township. It's a team, and thank you to supervisors. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions or comments?
Just congratulations, Tom. You know, you make it look easy, but I know given how much sponsorship you've gotten for this, you do a lot of this on your own. And with the team underneath you, you just do an outstanding job. So thank you.
Thank you very much. We're a team. We stand side by side. I appreciate that. And, you know, some days we're just really just very grateful to serve the community of Whitemarsh. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom,
And
for all you
just
do.
one more question.
Yeah.
What's the weather going to be like that day?
Oh, gosh.
We do our best, and
I know. I hope we have a good day,
we'll do
good
everything
weather.
we can. We hope it's going to be great. We plan for the best, and we'll deal. We've had it all. Like, you know, we've had the wind, we've had the driving rain, we've had cold, we've had super hot. So who knows? After this winter, maybe we get a really special weekend.
That
Right?
sounds
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
8/10 of good luck's hard work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks
you.
very much.
And to our
George.
Thank you, George. Thanks for
special
coming.
thanks.
All right. I'm going to move down to the Montgomery County Cross County Trail Project. Bill Hartman,
Yes,
welcome.
thank you. Thank you for having me tonight. Yes, I'm Bill Hartman. I'm the Trails and Open Space Planning Manager with the Montgomery County Planning Commission. I'm joined tonight by a couple of my colleagues, Ella Miramontes and Doug Mazie, who both work in my section with me, and then our consultant, Mike Bowles, who's with Bowles, Smythe and Associates. Mike is going to follow me after I give you some bigger picture information right now, and he'll get into more of the details of the project. We actually have been in front of you before to talk about this about a year and a half ago or so, but boards change and new people come into the audience and to the township staff, so we wanted to provide an update on this really great project that we've been working on for almost 2 years now. So yes, the project name is the Cross County Trail Bridge and Extension Project. I wish I had a more exciting name than that, but that's essentially what it is. I'm going to give you some context about the Cross County Trail more broadly, and then we'll zero in on this project specifically in just a sec. Okay, so this is what we call at the county our primary countywide trail network map. And it obviously includes the entirety of Montgomery County, and it includes all of our well-known existing trails, as well as trails that are proposed and that we'll be building in the years to come. But a couple of the more renowned trails within Montgomery County that I'm sure you've heard of is the Schuylkill River Trail, which runs at the bottom of the map along the Schuylkill River Trail, going from Philadelphia all the way out to Pottstown and beyond. We've got the Perkiomen Trail that leads off of the Schuylkill River Trail near Valley Forge National Park and heads up to Green Lane Park up at the northwestern part of the county. But tonight we're talking about the Cross County Trail, which is the trail that we've highlighted in blue on the eastern side of the county. The Cross County Trail right now, well, the entirety of the Cross County Trail ultimately is 20 miles in length. Right now, about 9 of those are built, so we have 11 more to go. But of those 20 miles, literally every inch of that trail is either built, in engineering right now, or will be moving into engineering in the coming month or two. So this is a super high priority project for Montgomery County and the Planning Commission, and we're working aggressively to build it out. We received in 2024 over $40 million from the federal government to help build this trail. And that money will be used for engineering as well as construction costs, and in some cases, some right-of-way acquisition. The county is contributing about $4.5 million in addition to that $40 million. So when you look at it from a ratio standpoint, for every dollar that the county is committing toward this project, the federal government is committing $10. So it's a really great leveraging opportunity for the county to get enough funding to move the entirety of this project forward. Charlie, is someone moving that, or am I doing that?
I am.
Okay, all right, sorry. I'll put the clicker down. So tonight what we're talking about is the Cross County Trail Bridge and Extension Project. It's about 1.83 miles in length. This slide shows the entirety of this project's limits. The star on the left-hand side of the map is where the Cross County Trail currently ends. It runs from Conshohocken for about 3 miles. You may have seen it. It goes by IKEA and the Home Depot, Allenwood Road, and then it ultimately finds its way to Germantown Pike in Plymouth Township, where it stops. And that's where this project picks up. We'll be building a bridge to go over Germantown Pike, and again, Mike's going to go into this in more detail. The trail will then run up to Butler Pike, which is a county road. It will cross over Butler Pike, and at that point, it enters Whitemarsh Township. It will run through some areas behind Butler Pike and ultimately come out onto Flowertown Road, where it will then run along Flowertown Road up to Joshua Road. And at that point, you'll take a left, and it will run north on Joshua Road about, I don't know, a third of a mile or half a mile, where there will be a new traffic signal. It'll cross over Joshua Road, and that's where the Erdenheim Farms portion of the cross-county trail will then begin, and then move further north from there. Next slide, please. Just a little bit about the project team. As I mentioned, there are several of us at the Planning Commission who are working on this project. We're also working closely with DVRPC, the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission. Because this is a federally funded project, we have a liaison with PennDOT who works at DVRPC. In this case, it's Joan Detal. He helps us make sure that we're staying on target with all the federal requirements that take place during engineering. And of course, we have Bull Smythe Associates who are doing the actual engineering. Right now, we're in preliminary engineering. We anticipate that will go through the end of this year, and then we'll move into final design from there. So we have a good, strong team of people who are working on this project. Next slide, please. And more specifically, underneath Bull Smythe, there are a number of specialty consultants who are working on the various dimensions of this project, including structural engineering. We have to do a lot of geotechnical engineering and surveying because of the sinkholes that exist in this area, so we want to make sure that we're studying that and building the bridge and the trail in areas that will support them. We have an environmental consultant, and we also have a cultural resources consultant, and these are all consultants that will look at all the different aspects of this project and make sure that we're checking all the boxes that the federal government is requiring. Specifically, from a project funding standpoint for this particular segment of trail, as I mentioned, within that $40 million, this project is consuming almost half of that money. We received $2.5 million from what's known as the Community Project Funding Program. That flowed through Madeline Dean's office as the U.S. representative for this area. We were awarded $2.5 million through that program to fund engineering and construction, but the reality is that that money will be used predominantly for engineering. The county is also contributing over $600,000 in addition to that $2.5 million for engineering. Beyond that, from a construction standpoint, there are over $20 million committed for the construction of the bridge and trail. That may sound like a lot of money for a bridge and a trail when we're talking about less than 2 miles of trail. And it is a lot of money. The reason there's so much money allocated for this particular portion of the cross-county trail is because that bridge is enormously complex. It's going to be enormously expensive. We're estimating probably in the $10 to $12 million range to get the trail over Germantown Pike. As Mike's going to explain, the utility situation in that area is immensely complex. And they're kind of having to weave a needle through a bunch of different utilities in order to get over Germantown Pike. It will then land and run, as I described, up to Joshua Road. Trails are expensive now. People used to sort of throw around like, well, a mile of trail costs $1 million. Well, those days are kind of over. Our experience is that a mile of trail, especially in heavily developed areas like we're talking about here, can cost upwards of $3 or $4 million per mile. It's essentially a road that you're building. They're 10 to 12 feet wide, and you have to go through all the same hoops that you do for a road. So it's just as expensive to build trails and acquire the right-of-way in order to do so. But the good news is that we have the funding available to make this happen, and that's true with all the other portions of the cross-county trail that we're going to be studying in the years to come. Next slide, please. And there has been a lot of pre-work to get us to where we are today. There was a feasibility study that was done back in 2015 that took a look at some of the potential alternatives for how this segment could be routed. In 2022, we put together with Gilmore and Associates a feasibility study for the bridge itself. And then in 2024, we completed a feasibility study to pick out the precise alignment of where the trail will go once it gets over Germantown Pike. So lots of public participation to date. There will be additional public participation in the months to come to look at the engineering that we've put together to date. And that's really important to the county, as I know it's important to the township to make sure that people have an opportunity to weigh in on this and are aware of what's going on. So with that, I'm going to flip it over to Mike, and he's going to get into some of the details of the project. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Bill, and thank you all for having us this evening. Next slide, please. As Bill mentioned, the feasibility studies went into some great detail over the years from 2015 till now, and I'm just going to drill down on some of the location areas of the trail itself, which primarily follows the results of the feasibility study. As Bill mentioned, been a lot of stakeholder coordination, including individual property owner cooperation, including 2 or 3 or more memoranda of understanding in support of the trail, particularly on the properties where the trail will cross over. And I'll briefly highlight a few of those, including the starting point at Metroplex. So the green line represents the new alignment of the trail. As Bill mentioned, the green line as it crosses over Germantown Pike is a significant structure. It's about 600 feet long, multiple spans, and that is required. The feasibility studies demonstrated in coordination with PennDOT, as Germantown Pike is a state highway, that a grade separation is really the safest and most appropriate crossing of Germantown Pike. The blue represents the existing trail that Bill had described earlier that goes down to Conshohocken, and we'll be connecting that into there. And there's a little distance because of the need to go 17.5 feet over Germantown Pike with the minimum vertical clearance. The actual green line would have to extend back beyond the end of the blue existing and extend that portion back a little bit. So the little squiggly area at the left end of the blue that's tying into the green at the terminus is a minor relocation to have that connection to where we touch down on the western section of the bridge. You'll see a little cyan line there. As we go through this, Bill mentioned, we have to touch all the bases in terms of design, environmental, right-of-way, and utilities. Very complex area, as Bill mentioned. There's a significant maze of utilities through this area. We have a Texas Eastern gas line coming through here. Pico Gas has a major transmission line coming through. We have aerial and underground Pico facilities as well as other telecommunication companies. And as you can see, Plymouth Creek actually crosses underneath Germantown Pike. There's a small concrete area in the Germantown Pike bituminous paved area there. PennDOT in the feasibility studies has indicated that the bridge spanning over Germantown Pike cannot be directly over that culvert because they need to get in there to do maintenance on that. So again, there are a lot of constraints in terms of where the bridge could be. And as we look at design, environmental, utilities, and right-of-way, we were looking at the bridge structure in particular for type, size, and location, which is a preliminary engineering level assessment of the bridge itself that really dictates, the feasibility of that structure. Final design will get into more detailed information about the aesthetics and architectural treatments and how that will look in consultation with the stakeholders. But right now we're trying to focus on that location. So the cyan line that you see just below the green represents an alternate location or type, size, and location for that bridge. As I mentioned with design, environmental, utilities, and right-of-way, in this particular case, many of the elements of that in terms of design and cost for the structure itself and utility avoidance, they're very, very similar. The issue here is with the Metroplex site and the Livesey store that's adjacent there, there's an existing parking facility, and the issue of right-of-way and getting easements and maintaining the parking facilities for the adjacent land uses is one of the key elements in how that design of that structure will go. So we have 2 options that we presently are presenting at the bridge crossing of Germantown Pike. We continue east a little bit, and we do have to cross over Darby Creek aerially because, again, we are in a 100-year flood plain in that area, so we really can't increase the 100-year flood elevation with embankment being placed within that 100-year flood elevation. So that also extends the structure to that approximately 600-foot length. So as we continue east in Plymouth Township, we go through the Meeting House Business Center. Again, some challenges as we go through there, but the feasibility study did good work in identifying the proposed location for that, and that pretty much is consistent with that. As we approach Butler Pike, we would be on the west side of Butler Pike from the Meeting House Business Center in front of the Danella property. The existing roadway and curb line would remain in place along Butler Pike, and the trail would go behind the existing buffer and utilities there and encroach into the Danella property a bit, shifting their fence back to provide the width for the trail. There will be a rapid flashing beacon. The yellow star represents the mid-block crossing, so it's not a full traffic signal. It's a mid-block pedestrian crossing signal that you would implement there. And the county had acquired the property that you'll see in that cyan area there that is a county-owned property that they'll add a trailhead parking area at that location. So there will be an opportunity to access the trail at Butler Pike at this trail connection at the Plymouth Whitemarsh border. Continuing east, again, as Bill mentioned, will be off-roadway there. All the roadway portions, like Butler Pike in particular, is what's called a side path condition, and PennDOT has very specific standards for trails adjacent to roadways in a side path condition. But we're in a traditional multi-use trail once we get off the roadway, and the design criteria is a little different for that, frankly simpler, but of course that requires trail easements and environmental mitigation as you go through those properties. Next slide, please. Thank you. So again, the Germantown Pike, just quickly, this is an example of the Chester Valley Trail Bridge in Montgomery County. It's in Upper Merion Township. Montgomery County sponsored that project, so they have experience in design, construction, and maintenance of structures. As you can see, the crane installation of the superstructure is somewhat voluminous in terms of space. The Germantown Pike would likely will absolutely require a weekend closure in order to set the superstructure. There would be maintenance and protection of traffic throughout the construction of the bridge itself, but that would probably be limited to individual lane closures on adjacent roadways for the abutment construction and other off-road improvements. But when the superstructure over Germantown Pike needs to be installed, this particular project, again, as I say, Montgomery County's experience has been that they've been able to do that in one weekend closure. So that would be an element of the maintenance and protection of traffic during construction, and there will be a full-blown traffic control plan for all of the work. But again, a significant portion of the work is off-road, so Germantown Pike, Butler Pike, and Flowertown Road and Joshua Road would have traditional lane restrictions at limited times for the regular construction, and this would be the most significant maintenance protection of traffic impact. Next slide, please. So as you can see, this is the same structure again. There are some security and safety features like the fencing that's on the bridge itself. We'll be working in final design with the stakeholder group to do the best we can to improve the aesthetics of the structure within the budget that we have available to us. As Bill mentioned, there's $8 to $10 million allocated for the structure. That does give us some flexibility, but it also has its limitations on signature type structures that certain stakeholders may be interested in pursuing. But within the confines of that, there are architectural treatments for form liners for the abutment and retaining wall surfaces. Railings and fences can be designed, and the color of the structure itself. There's a lot of opportunity to employ architectural treatments to enhance the structure appearance. And we've noted through the feasibility study that is obviously an important element in the area of Germantown Pike. So that's an element that will be a key component in final design. But in preliminary engineering, we're primarily focusing on the feasibility of the structure, and that is tied primarily to type, size, and location. Next slide, please. So as we come through the wooded area, the feasibility study, as I mentioned, the trail location has honored the feasibility coordination and location almost throughout the project area. This is one exception to that. The commercial development to the left of the green line there had a parking area there, and there's a large stormwater management basin. The feasibility study showed that trail crossing to the left of that and going along the parking area of that commercial property. And we were walking it during our preliminary engineering field views, and we came across the sanitary sewer easement, and it just seemed like a superior location in terms of accessibility, constructability, and as we worked our way up towards around Wildflower and up towards the railroad right-of-way that takes us up to Flowertown Road, it seemed like the more appropriate location for a most feasible and cost-effective location. So everywhere else is pretty much as intended in the feasibility study. So as we coordinate with the property owners there, that may be perceived as a new wrinkle, and we just wanted to make sure the municipality is aware of that in the public coordination, and will be available to coordinate with those stakeholders as they come out and participate in the public involvement program. So as we approach Flowertown Road, if you could go to the next slide. Again, this is looking at Flowertown Road with Wildflower and Woodbine is actually where we're coming out there, and we have two photo locations. You'll see the yellow circles there, 1 and 2. As we head east on Flowertown, as we approach Colonial Drive, there's a separate municipal project to install a traffic signal at Colonial Drive, and that provides an opportunity for us to cross over from the south side to the north side at Colonial Drive at a signalized intersection for a safe crossing. So as we continue west, you'll see the blue there. That represents a portion of the trail that will be constructed as part of that local township project that will install that traffic signal, and we'll be connecting to that trail section in either end. We have met with the township and their engineer several times to coordinate these independent projects to ensure that when the signal project goes in, we're not having to rip out any of those improvements to construct the trail. There might be some local connections that require some local adjustments, but the coordination, particularly for the signal locations, the signal supports, the ADA ramps have been coordinated in order to receive the future trail in the project as it's being designed. So again, we continue on the north side to the east towards Joshua Road along the highway materials property. And if you could go to the next slide. This is an enhanced photograph of the trail on the south side, just west of Woodbine Way. The goal here is, if you're familiar with Flowertown Road in this area, there's an existing shoulder there. The intent is to hold the back of the existing sidewalk to minimize and or avoid any permanent impacts to the properties adjacent to the trail. There may be some temporary construction impacts associated with the construction of the trail. As you can see, the proximity of that fence is pretty close to the trail itself, but that would be restored as part of the construction. But the 10-foot wide trail in this area would hold the back of that existing sidewalk to minimize those permanent impacts to the adjacent properties, then have a 2-foot buffer, and then encroach into the roadway where the shoulder was to maintain the 2 lanes of traffic and take advantage of that shoulder area for the trail. Next slide, please. Again, as we go back to the intersection of Colonial Drive and Flowertown Road, this is the intersection area. If you could just slide down just a little bit more. Thank you, that's perfect. So we're coming up where the sidewalk is there. Again, this is a pretty sensitive area. It's a very tight frontage there. We don't have all those details worked out. There will probably be some sort of architectural or ornamental landscape wall like you see there, enhancing that landscaping in that area. So as that trail goes through, there's some details to work out here. But this is just in the foreground on the east side of this crossing is where the signalized crossing of the trail will occur to get from the south side to the north side. Next slide, please. So we'll wrap it up here with the continuation on the north side of Flowertown Road till we approach Joshua Road. We won't have to cross at the intersection. You'll see again there's another photo location. The next slide will be a photo looking north, but we'll continue north on the west side of Joshua Road, and unlike Butler Pike, where we'll have a rapid flashing beacon for the mid-block crossing at Butler Pike of the trail, PennDOT, through the feasibility studies, had already determined that a full traffic signal would be required at this location, given the state highway design considerations for this in terms of site distance, traffic volume, and other considerations. So as we cross over here, this would be a full traffic signal that would be implemented. And as Bill mentioned, the Erdenheim Farm section, which is a separate project, is where we'll tie in. The trailhead parking is associated with the Erdenheim's Farm project as well, and we'd have that tie-in. Last slide, please. So this is the photo looking north of the west side, I'm sorry. And as we get up, as you look at the crest of the roadway, and just between those two trees at the very top there, that's approximately where that signalized traffic signal would be located to connect to the Erdenheim Farms Trail. Sorry, next slide. So as Bill mentioned, we're in preliminary engineering right now. A key element of the preliminary engineering completion is the environmental clearance. So evaluating natural, community, cultural, and social resources, assessing those impacts and mitigating wherever feasible is an element of that environmental clearance. The type, size, and location of the bridge is something that would have to be pretty closely determined by that time. And the design gets to a level of what's called a design field view, which is the culmination of the preliminary engineering design. So the environmental clearance and the preliminary engineering design field view is the culmination of the preliminary engineering phase that we hope to have completed by the end of this year. One of the reasons we came out this evening is we do intend to plan a virtual public meeting in May of 2026, and it's pretty much the information we're presenting this evening. And we hope to solicit the support of the township to disseminate the invitations to that virtual meeting. We also intend to have an elected officials meeting a week prior, and we're nailing down those final dates, but welcome the support and respectfully request the interest and input from the township and all the stakeholders along the project. With that, I'll open it up to questions.
Thank you. Is there any board comment or questions? Is there any public comment? Sidell?
Good evening, Sidell Zove. Thank you very much for the detailed presentation. I do have several questions, and I'll just go through all of them at one time and then sit down so you can respond. As I'm sure everyone knows, the area around Chemical Road and Germantown Pike has a lot of historical significance, layers and layers of significance. And I'm wondering, will there be any kind of review or analysis of the impact on the historic resources? And I'm happy to go into some detail at another time about what those resources are. In a similar vein, as the trail comes out of the Meeting House office park, adjacent to the Danella property, that area immediately to the left of where the trail will emerge onto Butler Pike at Butler and the Danella property was the site of a cluster of historic lime kilns which were demolished by Danella maybe 5 to 8 years ago. I don't remember the exact time. And I'm wondering whether out of necessity and prudence and consistent with the requirements of federal funding, there would need to be any kind of archaeological investigation at that area of the former Danella, of the former lime kilns on the Danella property. I'm wondering what happens to the existing trail as it currently emerges from the Metroplex and comes down to Chemical Road. What happens to the existing section in that area? I'm also curious about, as you described the trail along Flowertown Road, you said it will not extend any further into the properties than the current edge of the sidewalk, as I understand.
That's the current proposal, yes.
So what happens to the verge that's there currently, the green verge that's between the roadway and the sidewalk? Will there be a green verge between the roadway or between the shoulder of the roadway? how much of the shoulder are you taking up? Will there be any kind of verge between the trail and Flowertown Road? And I'm a little confused about the section, the trail section as it crosses Butler Pike. You referred to the county having acquired a property, and I'm wondering, is that the former Hall property?
Township, excuse me.
Township. Would it be possible to go back to that particular slide that shows the crossing at Butler Pike?
Something like that.
Can you zoom in to, okay. So the aqua colored parcel, that's the Hall? That's the Hall property. And so if you could just get back to that there.
I'm trying. Sorry.
Okay. So the crossing is at the Hall property, and then the trail is between, is on the edge of the Hall property, Hall and the Jehovah's Witness temple. Is that right? Is that?
As it's currently shown, it's actually on the other side. The trail is closer to the Jehovah's Witness property, but this is a very conceptual layout.
Okay. And so it traverses the Hall property, and then the next slide that shows the next piece. Okay. And so as I understand, the original conception was to bring it along that stormwater swale, but now you've moved to the south into the, what is township property? Is that a 10-acre property parcel that the township owns there? Is that what that is?
The authority.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's township. Okay. All right. And my last question thus far is with regard to the Erdenheim Farm section. If we could have more information on the status of that section. I remember years ago speaking to a former trail person at the County Planning Commission who told me that the Planning Commission was in the process of crossing the T's and dotting the I's with regard to the Erdenheim Farm section. But I've heard nothing more since then, so I'm wondering what is the status of that section, and when would it open? Might it be open before everything else? Because the bridge is obviously a major part of this. So if we could hear more about the tie-in with the Erdenheim Farm section, I'd appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Adele. I'll just quickly talk about the Erdenheim Farm project, and then Michael will go into the engineering details about Siddell's questions. I can honestly say that we are very close to finishing, getting ready for that project. We've had the approved and completed engineering plans for that project in hand for almost 2 years now. The issue with that project is that it's immensely complicated from an easement and site control standpoint. And we've been working intensely with the Whitemarsh Foundation, the township, and Erdenheim Farm to get all of those legal agreements in order so that we can actually build the trail. Professionally, for me, it's been one of the most complex and challenging processes to work through. But we, as I said to someone the other day, there's much, much more behind us than there is in front of us to get those completed. And it's our hope right now that we will get that process wrapped up this summer. And we have all of the permits in hand for this project, and we hope to prepare and start bidding the project in the fall. So that's the current plan. It will probably take about 2 years to build that project. So let's say it gets underway at the end of this year. It would be completed in 2028, which is frightening to say just generally, but that's the current plan.
So the Erdenheim Farm section will likely be completed well before the balance of this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes,
That's
for sure.
good.
Mhm. So we're getting this.
Thank you, Bill. I apologize, I'm getting older in my handwriting, I can't read as well, so if I glossed over any of your questions, please let me know.
Happy to chime in.
Happy to elaborate. Just regarding the connection at Chemical Road, as I mentioned on that first slide, the blue section represents that existing trail, which will remain largely intact. The only minor temporary impact will be at the end of that green line. We just have to make that connection. We have to go back a little further into the existing pavement to get down from 17 and a half feet of underclearance of the bridge down to existing grade, again at a 5% grade to meet ADA requirements. So the blue trail will basically be intact. So there'll be connectivity to the trail and the eastern connection from Chemical Road at Germantown Pike as you currently have it. There will be ADA enhancements of the crosswalks at the intersection of Chemical Road and Germantown Pike. So again, to enhance that. There's also the driveway into the Meeting House Business Center, as you know, is a right in and right out. There's an opportunity possibly to change the radius of those curbs in that area to bump it out a little bit to reduce the pedestrian crossing width and shift away a little bit from the lime kilns in that area. So enhance the space that may be there.
So there's existing lime kilns right where Chemical comes into Germantown, but there's another set that was demolished by Danella on Butler Pike.
Understood. That goes to the second question, which again, I can't speak to the specifics of the locations of all the cultural resources in the area, but as Bill had mentioned in the introduction, we have a firm retained named CHRS, who is our cultural resources specialist, who has 40 years of experience with the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation in cultural resource evaluations, and he actually has personal experience at the time of the construction of Metroplex in archaeological evaluations of the lime kiln area at Germantown and Chemical Road. Whether or not he had any work in that area, the Danellas, I don't know, but the cultural resources process, and I'm a layperson, so if I misspeak, don't hold me to it, but in general, there's what's called an area of potential effect for the entire project area. So the archaeological resources and above-ground resources like Abolition Hall and other above-ground resources that have been identified through the Pennsylvania Historical Museum Commission. There's the document research associated with that, and then we have actually initiated some archaeological investigations in the Germantown Pike area. We are working with the cultural resources professional at the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation, who is the liaison with the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission, who will evaluate the studies that are done, and if they're incomplete, they'll recommend more studies, or if the evaluation of the disturbance areas that we have are deemed to be complete and adequate, then we would get the environmental clearance. So that's that part of that environmental clearance element of the preliminary engineering phase. So those cultural resource studies corridor-wide are underway right now, again, both above ground and archaeological resources. So all the historical data for the features, particularly the archaeological features, are coordinated through the PHMC, and that is an element of the overall environmental clearance.
Excuse me, but when might a report be forthcoming with regard to the archaeological, cultural, and historical elements?
As I mentioned, we're hoping to get the environmental clearance prepared, and again, that's not just the cultural resources elements of it, it's the natural resources, the socio-economic things, and most of them usually have to be pre-approved before the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation shares them. We will have our cultural resources specialists available, I believe, at the virtual public meeting. It might be an opportunity to get general information about what's being evaluated in the project area at this time. But once the environmental clearance is complete, I'm sure those documents can be made available. Let's see, the end treatment, the archaeology, cultural resources, the existing trail, again, as I mentioned, with the exception of the stormwater management basin area, near, near Woodbine, that every other area was very, very close to the feasibility study in terms of location of the trail. The buffer, if you wouldn't mind, Craig, going to the enhanced photograph that shows the area along Flowertown, there is a buffer proposed. We need that not only for aesthetics, but also for safety. Again, the offset from the edge of roadway. As you can see there in that photograph, the intent is to have a buffered area from the edge of trail to the new face of curb, which will take virtually all of the trail. That darker band that you see there is a 3-foot bandwidth that represents a width of total reconstruction of the roadway that PennDOT typically requires when they're replacing curb. So we would not only kick out the trail into the roadway, into the shoulder area, provide that buffer, and reconstruct the existing roadway approximately 3 feet from the front face of the curb, of the new curb.
How wide will that buffer, verge, the green verge be?
About 2 feet. Did I miss anything? The Hall property? You got that covered? Or?
I think that's it for now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? All right, thank you so much. Very much appreciate your presentation. Moving down to the announcements, I'm going to turn it over to Beth Moy.
Thank you, J.C. A representative from Berkheimer Associates will be at the Township Building on April 21st from 9 to 1 to assist residents with tax payments for the discount period. This information is on every tax bill that was mailed out on March 2nd, 2026. Saturday, April 25th, 2026 is National Celebrate Trails Day, a day that celebrates the nation's trails, promotes wellness, and the appreciation of the outdoors. Get out and enjoy the trails. Maybe everyone can walk a trail to Whitemarsh Township Day on April 25th, 2026, from 12 to 5 on Victory Fields at Plymouth Whitemarsh High School. The William Jeans Memorial Library will hold their annual wine and cheese fundraiser on Saturday, May 2nd from 5 to 7. Early bird tickets are available now in the library or online, and tickets for the famous raffle baskets go on sale Monday, April 13th. You don't need to attend the fundraiser to win a raffle, but it's a great evening with your neighbors if you do. Thank you to all of the local businesses and organizations that are sponsors or raffle donors for this event. And finally, National Library Week runs from April 19th to the 25th this year. All residents and visitors are welcome to stop by the William Jeans Memorial Library to see the great, free, and informative events and services the library offers. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Moving down to the approval of the minutes. May I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from March 12th?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Do I have a motion to open a public hearing for the review of conditional use 02-06 for Lafayette Hills Shopping Center, LLC, located at 428 Germantown Pike, for a Smoothie and Bowls restaurant?
So moved.
Second.
I'm going to turn it over to Solicitor Kilkenny.
Sure. Thank you very much, Chair Toll. I'm going to go ahead and mark some preliminary matters, some exhibits. T1, an application, plans and associated documents from February 3rd, 2026. T2 will be a letter from the Corman Commercial Properties agents for Shops of Lafayette Hill confirming executed lease for restaurant, dated January 5th, 2026. T3 will be a proof of publication in the Times Herald from March 25th, 2026 and April 1st, 2026. T4 will be the applicant meeting notification, a letter of February 26, 2026. T5 will be the resident meeting notification letter dated March 13, 2026. T6 will be a posting of notice March 31st, 2026. T7 will be a zoning ordinance compliance review letter dated February 25th, 2026. T8 will be the fire marshal review letter dated February 5th, 2026. T9 will be the Whitemarsh Township Planning Commission recommendation motion recommending approval pass on the March 10th, 2026 meeting. Also, too, I was handed by the applicant a series, Ms. McGrath's their attorney, a series of exhibits. A1 will be a property deed. A2 will be a Google aerial of property. A3 will be a site plan. A4 will be a proposed floor plan. A5 will be the interior rendering. The conditional use process here in Whitemarsh Township and everywhere is akin to a zoning hearing, where the Board of Supervisors sits in a quasi-judicial role. They can have evidence there will be evidence presented. There would be an opportunity to see if anyone is requesting party status. Just so everyone understands, party status does not mean that you can't comment at the end of this presentation. You always have the ability to go ahead and do that. Party status means that you live generally within 500 feet of this application, and you wish to present your own evidence, cross-examine witnesses as such. So I wanted to see, is anybody requesting party status? Okay, seeing none, what I will do, I had the opportunity to get some correspondence from Ms. McCrane earlier. She said she will be doing what's called an offer of proof, which is she will go ahead and basically summarize what the witnesses will testify to, and then they will affirm that testimony. There will be an opportunity for the Board of Supervisors to go ahead and ask any questions they might, and if they want more than what they heard as far as the summary goes, they're free to go ahead and ask any of that. Right now, I'll turn it over to our zoning officer, Mr. Guttenplan, just for a brief summary.
Thank you very much. This is a conditional use for a restaurant in the VC1 Village Commercial District. You've seen these hearings before. Restaurants are allowed by conditional use if certain criteria are met. It's a conditional use under section 116 290B subsection 10, and this has been before the Planning Commission at their March 10th meeting. Ms. McGrath made a presentation then. The Planning Commission at the end of that made a recommendation for approval of the conditional use, and Ms. McGrath is here to make a presentation to the board this evening with hopes that you will approve this conditional use, so I will turn it over to her.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Solicitor. So as you hear, I'm here this evening on behalf of Lafayette Hills Shopping Center, LLC, on a conditional use application for operation of a restaurant in the VC1 Village Commercial District. I do have a witness with me tonight. As you heard, I'm going to proceed with an offer of proof, but we do have one of the operators of the proposed restaurant with us, should there be any
You should be
questions.
sworn in, yeah. I'm sorry?
Yeah.
You just stand up and face court reporter?
Can you state your name for me, please?
Tim Spinner?
S-P-I-N-N-E-R?
Correct.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you were given this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You could keep your voice out, counsel.
Sorry.
Is that microphone on?
I believe, I think, oh, I'm just not pulling hard enough, sorry.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for telling me now before we're halfway through. All right. All right, so you hear what we're here for. We're looking to operate a restaurant in the VC1 Village Commercial District. In general, the Smoothie restaurant that we're proposing, it's a smoothie and acai bowl stop, so a little bit healthy, a little bit, fresh and fruity and all that stuff. So that's kind of what the menu's looking like. That's generally what we're proposing to serve. So let me see here if I can get it going on some, oh, there we go. All right. Very quickly here, this is just the deed. This is to show us that the applicant is indeed the owner of the property here. That is the subject of this application. Sorry, I have the whole deed in here, so. Alrighty. Exciting stuff, I know. Okay, all right, here we go. So I'm sure you're all familiar with this property. A lot of you probably drove past it on your way in. You'll see in the red square down there is actually the unit in particular that we're looking to operate this restaurant in. This is a Boost and Bowls restaurant. I believe there's another one in Manayunk, is my familiarity with the restaurant here. So as you can see, it's an end unit, and you can kind of see from this particular map that there is parking that is shared between the other uses in the same shopping center. There's also street parking there on Germantown Pike. You might be able to see it, but there are, if you'll look at the exhibits, there's bus stops and you can see there's a golf course there, and then diagonally across the street there's also the ball fields in the park. So there's a fair bit of pedestrian traffic that we're expecting, especially I drove that way and I saw all the cars there to watch the baseball game. So I would imagine a nice, post-game win. Go down and have yourself a smoothie. Alrighty, so this is the site plan. You can see the subject property is highlighted in red there. This gives us just a slightly closer look at the parking situation. You can also see that there's parking in the rear using this plan, so I think this works, right? Yeah, okay. You can see back there, I'm not controlling it terribly well, but this also kind of gives you a visual of how this lines up with the neighboring uses. So you can see it's an end unit, and the two uses next to it directly. One is an insurance business, and the one further down is a dog groomer. So in terms of, I think we all know the parking situation in this particular area, especially down at the Wawa end. We are as far away from the Wawa as we could possibly be. And I would imagine, and we can certainly answer questions about the anticipated traffic, the peak times and all that stuff, but I would imagine that actually that would work very well with the insurance business as well as the dog groomer, that I think we anticipate most of the traffic in the Bowl restaurant to be kind of morning, wake up, post-gym kind of stuff, and then probably a little bit of a peak around mealtime, and then probably in the evening around dinner and people heading home from work. Whereas the insurance office is probably a 9 to 5 situation, and the dog groomer is probably a middle of the day kind of use. So hopefully, and it's our understanding and anticipation that that parking will not be overwhelmed given the kind of overlap of the uses and the kind of way they work in tandem with one another. Of course, things vary a little bit, but there's been shared parking for this shopping center for some time. I know the previous two uses in this particular unit, one was a running specialty store, and the use most recently was a nail salon. Based on our operations and the studies we've done going into this, my understanding is I think it's 1 to 2 employees are expected to be working at a time. This is, let's see the floor plan. I think that might give us a better idea. So this is what we're looking at. This particular restaurant, it's more of a grab-and-go kind of smoothie place, that there is not any kind of sit-down dining proposed. There are waiting areas, as you can see on the plan here, but right now there's no anticipated seating for longer-term stays. So a lot of this traffic that we're going to see, both foot traffic and vehicular traffic, is going to be kind of come in, grab your stuff, order. I'm not sure if there's going to be mobile pickup, but very in and out kind of traffic, so not long stays. Now, compared to a nail salon, obviously, 1 person per person getting their nails done is required, so that's more parking for employees, that's more and longer term parking for your customers, whereas what we're proposing here is kind of a quick in and out kind of stop. Don't know. Oh, and it might be, I think it's important to mention that we're not proposing a drive-through or anything like that. There's no outdoor or exterior improvements planned or anything like that. You're looking at the entire improvement plan right here. And this is a rendering of what it will look like. So as you can see, it's kind of a quick and easy. It's a fairly small footprint unit, so it is going to be a lot of in and out. The only seating and the stools you might be able to see there next to the pickup window, that's mostly for people waiting for their snacks and their drinks. We've all seen the basketball team come in after the game and all the friends are waiting for each other. I think that kind of thing is what we're anticipating. There won't be any long-term stays. So I think in general, given the volume of traffic we're expecting and the types of employee volume that we're anticipating needing, the vehicular traffic won't be anything more intense than what we've experienced in this unit before, and it certainly won't be any more intense than any other restaurant use, which is of course permitted by conditional use within the township. In terms of effects on neighboring properties, I don't think we're anticipating anything ridiculous. I think this is wholly consistent with the other uses within the strip mall or the strip center here. There are a number of other restaurants there now. Obviously, there's a Wawa on the end, but there's, I believe, a poke bowl place. There's a Chinese food restaurant, and I believe there's also a pizza place. So there's already kind of, the traffic is expected. Everybody kind of knows what they're getting into there. I don't think we're proposing anything that would be significantly different than what we might expect with any other kind of use that would go in there. A lot of kind of quick traffic in the evenings and that kind of thing. Obviously, it's consistent with the character of the neighborhood. That's kind of it's a busy street, but it's, busy for a reason. That's where all that kind of stuff is concentrated. And I will, as I say, this is an end unit, so it's the closest to the exit driveway, which is probably going to save people some time in the morning. But we're not anticipating any kind of nuisance issues, anything like noise, any additional lighting or anything like that. As I say, there are no exterior improvements proposed. So if anything, signs and kind of exterior kind of design stuff like that is what we're looking at. I think certainly this is consistent with the township's comprehensive plan. Obviously, this is allowed by conditional use, so this kind of use is contemplated in this area. And I don't believe there will be any adverse visual impacts from this particular use. And it's our understanding this property has been roughly the same for decades at this point in terms of the exterior look. Some of you are nodding, some of you maybe feel it's a little dated. But it's our understanding there's been very little change there. So any kind of zoning concerns about requirements like bulk and all that, that's probably not going to be a concern. We're not actually changing anything there. And everything's been operating without any kind of issue for a long time. We're just looking for a new tenant at this point. And it's our understanding that there's no expected impact on the township's resources in terms of fire, police, things like that. So as you know, a conditional use is a permitted use provided that the applicant can demonstrate compliance with the objective standards and the conditions of the zoning ordinance, and the use does not result in any unanticipated impact on the public health, safety, or welfare. I believe that tonight we've walked you through some of our exhibits, and we've gone through some of the basics and the nuts and bolts of the proposed project here. And none of those factors and none of the issues or concerns that we've discussed is anything unanticipated or anything that's inconsistent with the restaurant use in general. I suppose I'll open it. Oh.
Did you want to wait?
Yeah. So, all right. Mr. Spinner, were you here for my testimony just now?
I was.
And you heard everything?
I did.
Excellent. Would you adopt that testimony as your own?
I will.
Any board comment?
I do have. Sorry, go ahead.
Please.
Okay. Did you say what you're thinking the operating hours are going to be?
Probably about 7 a.m. to 6 p.m.
If you could just come up to the microphone.
Yep.
No, thank you.
We're looking at 7 a.m. to about 6 p.m. Most of our business is typically in the morning and then that lunch rush and a after school type of rush, but there's not much. People typically don't drink the smoothies and have the acai bowls for dinner as much. So that's why we typically wind things down around that early dinner time.
And you have a location in Manayunk?
Our partner, yes, she's had a location for 8 years now. So I know her through, we both have a business on Main Street. So we've been friendly for a long time and decided to get into work together for a second location.
Okay. What's the timeline for opening?
As soon as
If
possible.
approved.
We're ready to go. So we're just waiting on the approvals and everything. But we have our designs, we have contractors lined up, staff, everything's ready to go.
And then at the Manayunk location, do you find that people tend to want to congregate outside or sit outside or something once they get their smoothie?
There's a little bench out front,
Yeah,
but
that's what I
people
was wondering if
typically,
you're gonna
it's
do the same.
more of a grab and go type.
Okay.
There's no indoor seating or anything there, so
Yeah.
just pick up and run.
But you could envision potentially like a bench out front or something?
Sure, if that's allowed. We're happy to have a
I have
bench
no
out there.
idea, but
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just thinking.
Yeah,
you know.
that'd be great.
Yeah. I think it's a nice addition.
Thank you.
I agree.
Thank you.
Is there any public comment? Come on up, Tom.
Yeah, Tom Dahl, Fairway Road. It's really not a comment against the business per se. It's more a question about that whole area that's down there. There's a lot of traffic going in and out. And it's very highly congested, particularly like later in the afternoon, once the kids start playing softball and baseball down there. Kids are always crossing that intersection. I don't know if there's anything the township can do, but that street parking, sometimes there's cars coming in and out and people getting out of their cars and onto the road. But also, is there any type of like overhead, I don't know what you would call it, pedestrian awareness that could be put there because people are constantly crossing that street all the time. Not up where the light is necessarily, but they're kind of jaywalking between the, where the cleaners is and where the old ale house is, and crossing the street there because there isn't enough parking there. And I would suggest too, your employees should park in the back to leave those spots open for the people in the front. And the other thing you might want to consider is extending your hours in the summer to maybe 8 o'clock or 8:30 because of the fields across the way. You're getting a lot of business, I think, from people that are going to want to go over there, particularly if it's a hot day, to get something cold to drink. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. All right. Do I have a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All right, hearing closed. I'm going to move down to, do I have a motion to approve conditional use 02-06 for Lafayette Hill Shopping Center LLC located at 428 Germantown Pike for a Smoothie and Bowls restaurant as presented tonight?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to move down to ordinances. Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 1053 for the sale of real property located at 14 Marple Lane, Plymouth Meeting, through a public bid process?
So moved.
Second.
Craig, I didn't know if you wanted to say anything additional.
No, we talked about this last month. The Home Rule Charter requires the Board of Supervisors to enact an ordinance for any sale of real property over 6,000 worth of value. So we'll go out to bid for this. It's obviously going to be over $6,000. So we'll go out, we'll advertise the bids and work on that. So.
When do you think it will go out to bid?
Hopefully we can get everything together next week and it'll be out and be able to, it'll probably be out there for 6 weeks.
Okay,
So
great, good to know.
Probably looking at maybe a June timeframe.
Okay, thank you. Any other board comment? Any public comment? Sidell, come on up.
Sidell Zove. Will there be any outreach to the neighbors along Marple Lane regarding the availability of the property and the bidding process? Or can there be? Let me put it that way. Can there be?
They seem to know already, but.
Well, they know that it's coming, but
Yes.
that it's actually happening and details of the process.
Certainly.
And will there be an on-site walkthrough, pre-bid meeting?
Yes, that'll all be in the bid proposal or the bid packet.
And the package will be available on the township's website as well as other places?
Other avenues, yes.
Okay. And then lastly, I'm going to sound like a broken record, I know, but I continue to be concerned about the wetland, the delineated wetland that spans the rear of this property and extends into the fields behind the Abolition Hall, the Corson Homestead. And I just want to make certain that the fact that there is a delineated wetland, that there is a significant buffer around it is noted on any documents that are made available through the bid process.
Still there.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment?
Bless you.
Thank you.
All right, seeing none. Mr. McAnally, can you please call the roll?
Yes. Ms. Griffin-Shelley?
Yes.
Mr. Manuel?
Yes.
Ms. Moy?
Yes.
Chair Toll?
Yes. Motion carries. Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 1054, adopting portions of the National Fire Protection Association standards that are silent in the PA Uniform Construction Code, along with enforcement of such ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Andrew, would you like to come up? Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Just to kind of touch on what we mentioned last month, the purpose of this is to help strengthen our fire prevention and life safety codes here in the township. The ICC currently mentions these specific NFPA codes in their body, but they don't fully elaborate on them. This just gives us the ability to do more than reference it out of the ICC and to actually utilize these codes in helping with our fire prevention and life safety codes in the township and enforcement during fire inspections and other life safety issues.
Thank you.
No problem.
Is there any board comment? Is there any public comment? Seeing none, Mr. McAnally, can you please call the roll?
Yes, Mrs. Griffin Shelley?
Yes.
Mr. Manuel?
Yes.
Ms. Moy?
Yes.
Chair Toll?
Yes. Motion carries. Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance number 1055, establishing life safety requirements for electric vehicle charging stations located inside of parking structures?
So moved.
Second.
Andrew? Oh, John. Come on up.
Good evening, everybody. Again, this is the ordinance that addresses fire and life safety issues surrounding the electronic vehicle charging stations inside of parking garages and structures. It does not apply to private homes in any way, shape, or form. It really is only for parking garages and businesses that have like a car dealership or area that has an enclosed garage or work area that has chargers. It's not addressed properly. It's really not addressed at all in the NFPA codes or the ICC building code. And that was our reason for attempting to adopt that.
Thank you.
John, is there a specific exclusion for chargers in home
Yes.
parking? So it's
It specifically
called out.
in the ordinance. It calls out R3, which would be the code for residential. It's absolutely not governing residential properties whatsoever.
Thank you.
I know of a couple of places in Philadelphia that have removed them from the inside parking structures to the outside because of exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, makes sense. Thank you. Is there any public comment? All right, seeing none, Mr. McAnally, can you please call the roll?
Yes, Mrs. Griffin Shelley?
Yes.
Mr. Manuel?
Yes.
Ms. Moy?
Yes.
Chair Toll?
Yes. Motion carries. Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance number 1056, modifying Mobile Food Vendor Ordinance to remove section 85-19, subsection D for exemption for people operating under a special event permit?
So moved.
Second.
Andrew.
The main reason for this is not to inhibit our mobile food vendors, but is to allow us to continue our inspections to make sure they're safe. We still work with certain special events like Township Day, also the Colonial Foundation when they do their event. We're not trying to inhibit people from hosting them. It's just for us to still inspect to make sure these trucks are safe and there's not any life safety hazard to the patrons.
Thank you. Is there any board comment? Is there any public comment? Seeing none, Mr. McAnally, can you please call the roll?
Yes, Mrs. Griffin Shelley?
Yes.
Mr. Manuel?
Yes.
Ms. Moy?
Yes.
Chair Toll?
Yes. Motion carries. Do I have a motion to table ordinance number 1057, creating the position of Director of Public Safety?
So moved.
Second.
I want to recommend that the board table this ordinance for consideration at until our next meeting on May 14th to allow the board, the solicitor, and the public additional time to review the ordinance. The Board of Supervisors wants to be very thoughtful about creating this position and does not want to rush into enacting the ordinance. The board wishes to provide additional time for public review and comment and an opportunity for the board to receive input and evaluate it. The board appreciates any and all comments on this important ordinance. Is there any other board comment? Is there any public comment? Come on up, Tom.
Thanks, J.C. I agree with your decision tonight to table this because I've got a number of questions on it. And how best would it be for me to submit any questions I have regarding this position?
I would recommend that you submit them through Craig.
Okay. Versus, because I want to make sure that there's enough time for me to
Absolutely.
explain why I think this position isn't necessary.
Or you can send them directly to me if you like.
Okay. Well,
you're welcome to do that.
I'll send it.
That's fine. That works.
Thank you. Good decision.
Is there any other public comment? Come on up.
Jeremy Hill, Lantern Lane. Thank you for tabling this to further think about it. I just want to, make sure. I was kind of running some numbers due to the role in the position and all the other items that go with it. Obviously, this proposal to add a director of public safety may sound like a step toward improved coordination, but we need to carefully consider and the real and ongoing cost to our township. This position will simply not cost a salary. It's obviously going to have an amount of dollar figure attached to it for salary, but then we obviously have FICA, SUCA, Medicare contributions, and retirement, matching and health insurance. Beyond the compensation, there's significant operational costs, emergency vehicles, fuel, insurance, maintenance, electronic software programs, communication systems, township issued phone, ongoing training, seminars, professional memberships, and a general operating budget to support the role. When you add all those together, we're committing to a reoccurring expense that will only grow over time. If this individual is effective, they will naturally identify additional needs, recommend new programs, and expand services, meaning that whatever this original cost that we're agreeing to, as what would be approved, would obviously go up. Excuse me. I'd hope we could also consider an alternative where we would take this funding and give it directly to the emergency service departments in which this role is kind of being created or anticipated to be created about to support them. Excuse me. We currently spend, as a township, approximately $350,000 between each of the two fire departments and the ambulance service, a little bit less to the ambulances, a little bit more to the fire departments. But by splitting this up, we could obviously increase each of those departments' funding substantially and provide immediate impact. This is a transformative investment. It directly strengthens the services that are already protecting our residents, funding equipment upgrades, training, recruitment, and retention efforts, and faster response capabilities. These departments are staffed by dedicated volunteers who already understand our community and its needs. Investing in them yields tangible benefits without adding another layer of bureaucracy. We already have a structure in place, our Emergency Services Board. Rather than creating a costly new administrative position, we should empower and better utilize this board. By giving the board a stronger voice, actively listening to its members, and implementing their recommendations, we can achieve the same goals: better coordination, improved communication, excuse me, and stronger strategic planning without the added financial burden. In short, this decision is about priorities, where we should obviously invest this money. Should it be an administrative role for growing long-term, with growing long-term costs, or do we simply put the same money directly into the hands of the firefighters and EMS personnel who serve our community every day? Strengthening our existing services is not only more cost-effective, is a better investment in public safety. So thank you for your time. And again, thank you for pushing this and for further questions and comments. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? All right, Mr. McAnally, can you please call the roll?
Sure. Mr. Griffin-Shelley.
Yes.
Mr. Manigault.
Yes.
Ms. Moy.
Yes.
Chair Toll.
Yes. Motion carries. Do I have a motion to authorize the Township Solicitor to amend the Director of Public Safety Ordinance and re-advertise the amended ordinance if necessary?
So moved.
Second.
Sean, did you want to speak to that at all?
Sure. I know the board has been gotten some valuable input related to this. If the board chooses to move forward on this, I know there'll at least be some cosmetic changes to the ordinance as has been currently drafted. So I would want the authorization to make those changes and then hear input from others. And what we'll do is, with your suggestion, Chair Toll, is we'll make sure before that new ordinance is re-advertised, we'll make sure it's posted, everyone knows about it, is aware of those cosmetic changes or any other changes that are part of that ordinance, so they're aware and, kind of whatever the version of red line of that, so people would understand the difference. We'll make sure that that's available to the public at least several weeks in advance.
Thank you. Is there any board comment? Is there any other public comment? All right, Mr. McAnally, can you please call the roll?
Ms. Griffin-Shelley.
Yes.
Mr. Manuel.
Yes.
Ms. Moy.
Yes.
Chair Toll.
Yes. Motion carries. Do I have a motion to adopt Resolution 2026-08 for an amended pass-through indemnity agreement and amended cooperation agreement between Whitemarsh Township and AIM Academy in reference to requirements under the RACP Grant funding for AIM Academy?
So moved.
Second.
I'm not sure. Craig?
Yes, I'm sorry, Resolution 2026-08. Back in March of 2025, we approved a indemnity agreement and a cooperation agreement and a pass-through indemnity agreement. Back then, it was a $2 million grant that AIM Academy received. Currently, they received a additional $250,000 grant, so we're just changing the numbers on both the cooperation agreement and the indemnity, the pass-through indemnity agreement. What this will do is just eliminate the township from having to put money forward to that. The AIM Academy needed the township to sign off on both grants. This will eliminate any need for the township to put any money in for their project.
Thank you. Is there any board comment? Is there any public comment? All right. Mr. McAnally, can you please call the roll?
Ms. Griffin-Shelley.
Yes.
Mr. Manuel.
Yes.
Ms. Moy.
Yes.
Chair Toll.
Yes. Motion carries. Do I have a motion approving a bid from James D. Morrisey for the Wells Street Trailhead Project in the amount of $436,297?
So moved.
Second.
Krista?
Good evening.
Good evening.
On March 31st, we publicly opened bids for the Wells Street Trailhead Project. This is for a trailhead parking lot in the wooded area across from Cedar Grove Park and a pedestrian trail bridge over. There's a small dry creek bridge. We received 4 bids. The lowest bidder was James D. Morrisey, Inc. for $436,297. We do have a Monco 2040 grant for $200,000 that will help to fund this. And we are asking if you'll authorize my office to issue a notice of intent to award to James D. Morrisey.
Thank you, Krista. Is there any board comment?
I do have a question. I may not have been on the board when this started.
This was contemplated.
So you said a parking lot and trail bridge. How much parking will there be there?
24 spaces, one ADA spot.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Is there any public comment? All right. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve the allocation of funds in the amount of $700 to Spring Mill Fire Company for their assistance at the March 7th shredding event?
So moved.
Second.
Craig?
Yes, March 7th. We have an agreement with the two fire companies and the Ambulance Association to help us with the shredding event. They rotate events throughout the years. So this year it was with Spring Mill Fire Company. They came out, they helped with the shredding event, unloaded cars and loaded the paper into the shredding truck. The amount of this year is $700. That's all through donations from all the residents that come through and put a donation into the coffers. So $700 to Spring Mill Fire Company for their assistance with the shredding event.
Thank you. Is there any board comment? Is there any public comment? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve a certificate of appropriateness for rooftop solar panels at 53 East Germantown Pike, located in the Historic District as recommended by HARB?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Gutenplan.
Thank you. This is for solar panels on the front of a historic building in the Plymouth Meeting Historic District at 53 Germantown Pike. The HARB met yesterday and reviewed it. There will be 4 panels on this front roof that you're looking at, and the rest of the panels, there are 7 more, are further back on the property. They're shown on this. So here are the 4 on the front, which is what the HARB looked at, because that's the only area that will be viewed from Germantown Pike, the public right-of-way. The other 7 that are back here are not seen from the road at all. HARB did not feel that they could deny any green infrastructure, and the other factor that was raised and has been written about solar panels in historic districts is the fact that they can always be removed at a future time, and you don't ruin the integrity of the historic building. So the recommendation was to grant the certificate of appropriateness so the applicant could secure a permit for these solar panels.
Thank you. Is there any board comment? Is there any public comment? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve a certificate of appropriateness for sign and building improvements at 29 East Germantown Pike, located in the Historic District, as recommended by HARB?
So moved.
Second.
Charlie.
Thank you. This is the location. This you may know as, it's a mechanics shop set very far back from Germantown Pike, and this is a picture of it. It's right now the beige building in the back, and the certificate of appropriateness was for a couple of things. Improvements to this building. It is going to be, it's just recently been sold, is going to be used by a automobile detailing shop, and included in the improvements is painting the building, putting new lighting, and putting a black standing seam roof on it. Also, the sign that's in this location is going to be changed, and the sign also was the subject of the HARB review. Here you see a close-up of the building. It's going to be painted a dark charcoal gray. It's one of the historic colors that's approved, and the roof will be black, and any other trim will be black. And the sign that was proposed is this sign, a monument sign as required in the Village Commercial District, out front in exactly the same location as the current mechanic sign. And HARB had no issue with any of the improvements, and again made a recommendation that certificate of appropriateness should be granted for this.
Thank you. Is there any board comment? Is there any public comment? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve escrow release number 1 and final for Creek's Edge Project LLC, located at 548 South Bethlehem Pike, SLD 11-21, in the amount of $202,793.64.
So moved.
Second.
Krista.
Thank you. You probably have driven past this building and noticed that it's a pretty striking building. It's a artisan live-work studio on Bethlehem Pike. This is their first and final escrow release request. They waited to the end. Our office did visit the site and determined that all the improvements have been constructed in accordance with the plan, so we are recommending this release.
Thank you. Is there any board comment? Is there any public comment? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve the financials for March 2026 reflecting expenditures totaling $996,484.80, payroll in the amount of $744,803.48, and pension plan expenditures totaling $8,933.69?
So moved.
Second.
Angela, was there anything you wanted to, I have your name on here.
Oh,
Anything you wanted to add?
no, I'm
Okay.
sorry, I'm not prepared to.
No worries, no worries, no worries. Is there any board comment? Any public comment? Come on up, Tom.
Thank you. I want to thank Craig for getting back to me so quick, and Angela, I guess, too, with the questions I asked last month. That was
Angela
great.
did a lot of the research there, Tom.
Yeah, thank you very much. The only thing I would ask is, you know, when the board materials are sent out, and there's the list of expenditures that's at the end of the documents, can we have a comparison to last year's expenditures compared to this year, and/or budget, right? So we can kind of see as we go through the year how we're doing. All it is a bunch of numbers. How do I know how we're doing? How does the public understand how the township is really performing if we can't see if there's any variances between last year and this year and budget, so that we can appropriately ask questions?
Thank you.
More work for Angela, but I mean,
You just
she
did.
probably has all the information available anyway, so it's just a matter of showing it.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? All right.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I think you passed over.
Yeah, I was going to go back to that, Charlie.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
Let's
thank
finish this, and then we'll go
There
back.
actually is a second item relative to 29 East Germantown Pike, a hold harmless agreement.
Okay, got it. Got it.
Close this one out.
Sorry about that.
Close this one.
My bad. All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve a hold harmless agreement for a new sign at 29 East Germantown Pike, located in the right-of-way as recommended by Harb?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. This is actually the same sign you just looked at, but it's partially in the ultimate right-of-way, and although it's in the same location as the existing mechanic sign that's been there for many years, there's never been any action taken on that sign. So the current applicant was asked to execute a hold harmless agreement, and Krista Heinrich, as township engineer, reviewed the location, found there were no site distance issues, so staff is recommending the hold harmless agreement be approved so that it can be recorded against the property and he can secure a permit for the sign.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any board comment? Is there any public comment? All right, seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We are now at the public comment period of our meeting. Is there any public comment? Come on up, Tom.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the More Than a Curve article from a couple of weeks ago. It was called Transparency Week, and they compared Whitemarsh Township to Conshohocken, Plymouth, and West Conshohocken. So there are 4 municipalities locally here that were reviewed, and they were reviewed under police and crime, video and audio of the meetings, and land and development. We scored the highest in land and development at a 9 out of 10. Under video and audio of meetings, we scored a 4 out of 10, so not so good there. And for police and reporting of crime, we scored a 5. So of the 4 municipalities, we ended up being number 2 because we scored so high on land development, probably thanks to Charlie. All the stuff that gets disclosed when we're doing land development. But we were second to Plymouth. So Plymouth had the highest score at 21. So 21 out of 30, 68%. We had 18 of 30. So that would be what, 60%. So what I would do is I would encourage us to try to get a little bit more open as to what's happening, particularly in the police and crime. I think the videos are okay. When I look at them, yeah, there may be parts of them that are difficult to hear and to understand at times. But I would report crime statistics more. It said in the More Than a Curve article that we do a very good job of reporting what the police are doing in the community, like going out to the local schools, going to the high school, the police academy, those kinds of things. But what we don't do a good enough job is reporting the types of crimes that are occurring. So what kind of robberies do we have? Is there carjackings? I mean, I don't know what it is, but I think we could do a better job of explaining to the people like what's happening in the township from a crime perspective, just so that they know, But that was the only thing I had for tonight.
Thanks, Tom.
So, Tom, this was all as evaluated by More Than the Curve.
Yeah, More Than the Curve.
Under criteria that they created.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I don't know who created the criteria.
That's all I need. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment? All right. I'm going to announce that the board had an executive session on April 6th and April 9th regarding personnel items. Is there any board comment? All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion carries. Good night, Whitemarsh.